Yeah, last season was awesome. It was the best season on both sides for the men and the women. And I think the bigger thing that we accomplished last year, along with the results, was a belief in what we're doing is working. We had 2 All-Americans last year, and that they were only the second and third All-Americans we've ever had on the men or the women's side. So I think training-wise, it kind of solidified that the training's working. But I think we really made huge strides as teams in just kind of learning what it feels like to train with teammates and learn what it feels like to actually support teammates and be there for them in races and in practice. So I think the successful team atmosphere was started last year. And then, at the end of our first week right now, we can kind of see that we didn't really lose anything. We came in right away as the men's and the women's team and picked up right where we left off as far as team atmosphere goes. With the success that the women had last year and the way that they did it, we never talked about being top 10. We never talked about, being the second team at the GLIAC meet. We never talked about being the third team at the regional meet. We didn't focus on that. We knew it could happen, but we focused on the process, on making sure that we're taking care of ourselves, on making sure that the practice session is the best practice session we can have. And the results were, stemmed from that. So I think this year it's more of, my focus is day to day, do we have the environment and the camaraderie that we need to have success on race day? Because we can't just show up and be like, okay, today's the day, we're going to go out and have success. We need to build that every single day in practice. And then when race day comes and those nerves and jitters hit, we're falling back to what we know, which is preparation and trust in one another in order to have success on the race course. It's a total flip, where last year the men were young and inexperienced and looking for big race opportunities. Now the men are one of the more experienced teams in the conference even. We might be the most experienced team in the conference. We return all of our red shirts from last year. So Matt Paul's back, Brendan Kleinstra's back, Nate Carey's back, Bobby Beggs is back. And those guys all have GLIAC or regional experience on the cross-country course. So adding those guys into the 7 guys that ran the regional championships last year and had the highest finish ever, we have a crew of 10 to 15 guys that would be an awesome top 7 by the end of the year. So the key for them is just going to be health and really belief in each other, where our guys are working together and not so much working against one another. Now on the women's side, we return Emily Bird, which is awesome to have. Whenever you can return an All-American, things are going to look pretty darn good for you. But we might redshirt her. We're not sure yet. We're still trying to figure out what's best for her in the whole career window that she has. So we do return Michelle Bellini, Gabby Fieber, Carly Huggins also ran at the national championships last year. But then we're really looking at some of those other sophomore girls, I think, sophomore and junior girls, to make some huge progress in training and in racing. I think our freshmen are adjusting pretty well. This is day 5 of their college career, so it's still kind of tough to tell what it's all going to entail. But at the same time, they're coming in, they're working hard. And we were out on Hairpin Hill today, and I think they all had a pretty positive experience and their first, probably hardest hill workout they've ever done. But we don't know. We don't know who's going to break through. Right now, on paper, it looks like, freshman Nick Nemi, who's a Uper from Ironwood, could pop through. He's been fit. Caitlin Feldposh on the women's side has had a couple good days too. But, it's impossible to predict who's ready to step up to the next level, and by no means do we expect them just to show up and light the world on fire. But like you said, last year we kind of got lucky with Clayton and Gabby and Michelle, and even Ben Pasolt was our runner at regionals for our men's team. So they were able to kind of adjust to the lifestyle and the training differences from high school to college. So hopefully we can get lucky again and get a couple freshmen up there. Everything they do and the way they conduct themselves, I think, is what we want Michigan Tech cross-country student athletes doing. Trey Green, Clayton Sane, Luke Moore on the men's side, Amanda Kautzer, Julia Manzano, and Carly Huggins on the women's side. They're phenomenal student athletes, and I think the biggest thing for me and why I chose them is I love the way they interact with their teammates. I love the way they interact with their coaches. I love the way they approach practice sessions. Rarely are any of those kids in a negative, down, gloomy mood. If anything, they're picking me up on a bad day, and it's awesome to have people like that around because it makes everything better. I think our schedule is, second to none against any team in the country. Every meet we go to is tough, and there's some high stakes there. So we start with the Michigan State Spartan Invite, and that's the best teams in the state, some of the best teams in the region are going to be down there to get the first race in on a solid course. Usually the weather's pretty okay there. So we're going to throw down against the best teams in the conference, see where we stack up in September. That's fine. But then the Roy Griak Invite and the Lewis Conference Crossover, those are huge, huge, huge meets for national implications. So we're throwing our kids into high-pressure situations every chance that we can get because we don't want the conference meet and the regional meet and the national meet to seem big. We don't want it to seem different. We want to get there and be accustomed to the pressure in those high-pressure situations. So I think it's a skill to be able to handle anxiety and pressure situations like that. So we're going to start doing that right away.